Hello and welcome to this special show on CNN News 18. I'm joined by a diplomat from Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Maya Kadosh. She has also served in India in the past in capacity of DCN. And with the latest development that is ongoing in Israel, it was very, bizarre that such a massive attack has started happening without any kind of sense that the Israeli forces could ever have imagined. So Maya, you have been on the ground, you have been in the country. How would you describe the situation that has been unfolding the last several hours?
Thank you, Abhishek. I live in southern Israel. Today is
Hmm.
Saturday here, and it's also a Jewish holiday. Last night we went to sleep after spending wonderful evening with our family. Woke
Hmm.
up at 6 a.m. this morning, wailing sirens all over. We could
Hmm.
hear the incoming rockets. We
Hmm.
went immediately to the safe room, and from there we saw the news that rockets are pouring all over Israel. Later on,
Hmm.
we also learned that terrorists crossed the border into Israeli villages
Hmm.
and kidnapped civilians and soldiers, killed many.
Hmm.
Trolling story here, and it's very, very sad.
There have been several dozens of Israeli civilians, also, if I'm not wrong, who have been captured by the forces of Hamas, militia or militant, what would you say? There are people from other nationalities also that is being reported. Uh, could you give us some information on that? I know it will be very sketchy because the situation is still very fluid in Israel right now. How would you put that in terms of numbers, the current situation or the current hostage crisis?
So in terms of hostage and captured, we don't have the numbers yet. It's only recently been officially released that there are people being held hostages in Gaza. We also have
Hmm.
hostages held in the villages themselves that haven't been released yet, and there's heavy fire going on in these villages between the IDF and the terrorists. We hear hero stories from there about people fighting, leaving behind babies and women and going to protect their families and the village, which are
Hmm.
inspiration for us all. We don't know anything yet about the nationalities. I hear the news as you do from the social media, but we don't have any official comment on that yet.
Hmm. So the situation has evolved in a very scary situation, both in terms of military, fighting, and of course the kind of civilian casualty and the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding. Uh, how do you see the first response that the Israeli government is going to have on the entire situation, like both in terms of military defense and saving as many people from the clutches of Hamas?
So Israel is definitely going to retaliate. We never knew such an attack on our civilians. It was unprovoked, it was unexpected. Hamas will regret the moment they started this war, but it's not only Hamas. You can see it's very well organized and very well funded. We assume Iran is standing behind it, and the people and the nationalities and that are responsible for that, they will pay the price. Israel will retaliate like nothing you saw before.
We have seen some footages where Israelis warplanes they have scrambled and targets are being hit in Gaza Strip. There have been many buildings that has been leveled. Uh, but at the same time, do you think that these escalation or your forces are in very tight situation where they have to defend themselves also, they have to attack also, and they have to take out as many hostages that the Hamas and the militants have taken in?
We have hundreds of thousands of reserves that are all being
Hmm.
called on duty now. The army is well equipped and has enough manpower to stand to this challenge. And Israel IDF is one of the strongest militaries in the world, and I'm sure they're going to defend the country and teach the area a lesson about messing up with Israel that they wouldn't forget soon.
Messing up with Israel, we have in fact, the majority of the world has an image of Israel being a very invincible kind of force. The intelligence agencies have been, glorified in a way. Across the world, we have seen movies around that. Uh, do you think that this time around, somehow you could not make sense of what is coming to you, and we could see well orchestrated, well coordinated attack coming from all frontiers, air, naval, and territorial side, and somehow Israelis couldn't sense that this big, massive onslaught is coming.
It's still too soon to discuss any of that. We still have bodies in blood in the street, literally. We still have people being held hostages in civilian villages. So I think it's very soon to start and discuss what happened and what led us. Obviously, the result, we are not where we wanted to be.
Fair, fair.
And I'm sure that in further time it will be discussed.
Very fair. Also, the situation that is evolving in Israel is not going to be limited in Israel. There is going to be clearly repercussions. There is going to be reactions from across the world and neighborhood of Israel as well. With the kind of latest reaction that has come from all quarters of the world, how do you see? Is it like a particular bloc, EU and NATO allies, that is siding along with Israel, and not the entire world is condemning this action? Because we haven't had same type of condemnation for the attack from countries like Russia, Saudis, and other countries.
We see that most countries stand by Israel, say that Israel has the right to defend itself. You saw before that Prime Minister Modi ji condemned the attacks. I think all leaders of the world understand the situation, understand the extreme circumstances Israel is under. This is an attack that no country could be in peace with. Of course, I think any country would react in the same way when it comes to such an attack on its civilians, unprovoked, without any reason. And I don't see any differences when it comes to leaders of the world, especially friends of Israel. They will stand by us and they will help us.
Could you, I mean, like you have been mentioning, unprovoked. So, but could you, take us a little bit, in the history also, or maybe a few weeks or a few months ago, when such situation was evolving, that it could be the conflict skirmishes we have been observing for a late, like many times Israeli forces are being protested by Palestinians, and we have seen smaller skirmishes, but this big plan was being planned by the Hamas and Palestine, because we have seen Palestinian president also kind of politically backing the Hamas action in today's attack. Where would you put the entire situation started to coming to this point? If we go back a little behind.
I think even if we go farther behind, we didn't know such an attack for very long time. This is a very, very severe and unique situation. In less than a few hours, Israel declared war, which is a situation that doesn't happen almost never. This is a very unique situation. And I think if we look back, obviously Hamas is a terror organization that took over the Gaza Strip. If I can remind you that Israel evacuated the Gaza Strip and allowed the Palestinians to create their own nationality there, and Hamas took over by power. It's a terror organization that reacts against its own civilians, its own citizens, that they try to attack Israel. Many times we saw many of these escalations, but nothing in this scale before.
Today, Brazil has also called for an emergency meeting in United Nations Security Council on the issue of Israel. Of course, that the world is concerned, whatever is unfolding in a very speedy manner, in a very bizarre and violent manner in Israel. How do you think that will Israel also have a chance to speak in United Nations Security Council during this discussion, ongoing discussion?
I'm not sure yet. I'm sorry. Okay. You know that most of the day I was in the shelter, so I'm a bit out of the news cycle. But I'm sure
you're still in the bunkers and shelters. The silence are still on.
We left. I think for the last few hours, couple of hours. It's quiet here, so we're trying to catch something to eat and be together and strong, all the family together. So we are focusing on our family now.
How's the major infrastructures like basic amenities working, like electricity, water supply, or other facilities? Are they very much in place, or there has been disruption also?
It's mostly okay. There's some disruption in the electricity and power. mainly because our electricity station is very close. It's a few kilometers from the Gaza border. It also supplies the electricity to Gaza itself. And it was hidden a few times today during the day. I think now they are working on fixing it and replacing some of the parts, and I know that the electricity starts to come back.
Okay. Talking about the geopolitics, we were hoping that some kind of truce or some kind of improved bilateral relationship will happen between Saudi Arabia and Israel with the latest hit and attack. How do you see this, the bilateral ties between the two sides evolving?
I think it's also one of the things that it's too soon to discuss. If I look at it from a general perspective, I think the interest of both Israel and Saudi Arabia in having a peace agreement are still there. I don't think the Saudis are supporting any act of terrorism like is going on now by Hamas, but it's very early to discuss this issue.
Of course, Hamas is behind this attack and they have claimed the responsibility for this attack, but one can easily underline the fact that Hamas would not have the sophisticated means and the plannings and intelligence to support this kind of massive attack. How would you see and who would you blame for external factors who might have helped Hamas in orchestrating such an attack on Israel?
We know for a fact that Iran stands behind these attacks. We know they are training the Hamas, they are sponsoring Hamas, they are funding these efforts. We saw immediately after the attack started that huge signs were hanged in Iran supporting this operation, and I think there's no doubt about who is behind this attack.
Okay, so will we also see Israeli action against Iranian establishment? Because it's a huge.
I'm sure all options will be discussed in cabinet. I'm sure all options will be discussed in the cabinet meeting today.
Okay. Also, what kind of external, support? I mean, if you could expect coming from the world, both in terms of solidarity that they have expressed to Israel, in terms of assistance, and also in terms of mediation, that the situation, which is almost war-like situation, does not escalate to a full-fledged war between the two sides.
I don't see any speaking now about negotiation or mediation. Israel declared war. We expect the world leaders and other countries to support Israel's right to defend itself. That's the messages we are getting from all over the world. I don't expect this to change. And that's the support we wish to get from other countries. Condemn the terror attacks against Israel as well.
Totally. I know it will be too early to predict anything, but how far the Israeli government would take this war? I mean, what would be the target that they would like to achieve if they have started or declared this war?
Well, as you said, it's too soon to discuss this issue. But definitely for now, the main target is to get back all our villages, to protect our civilians, to get back all the hostages back from Gaza. This is definitely the first things we are going to worry about.
And the entire Israeli population, we have seen that Iron Dome, some of the rockets fell on the Israeli territories, also causing fire and panic in the people. What kind of assurance the Israeli government would give to its citizens that they're sure they are well defended?
Well, as you said, we had over 3,000 rockets shot into Israel. Thankfully, thanks to Iron Dome, most of them were incendiated, and most of them didn't fall on the ground. Most Israelis have shelters in their houses or very nearby. All the shelters are open now for the public in places that they don't have shelters inside their house. I think people feel safe in terms of rocket attack, that they can trust the government, trust the IDF, trust Iron Dome to be there for them.
And any special safety measures that the Israeli minister, since you are a part of government, that's why I'm asking, the Israeli government is taking to ensure the safety of people from other nationalities, the students who have been living in Israel, Indians. Any messages have been sent out to them that how should they prepare themselves for the coming days?
Yeah, there's an announcement sent in all languages, including English. I call all Indian students, workers that here in Israel to go to the Homefront website or load down the application, listen to what it says. It says exactly how much time you have to go to a safe room, where is the safe room next to you, what you should do. I urge people not to go outside. Things are very unclear now. Stay safe where you are. Don't go, people sometimes want to go and shoot pictures for the photos or videos for the families. Don't do that. Stay inside. Please, if you can bring this message to Indians that are here in Israel, that will be very important.
Of course, I mean, we have been on the top of this news, sending messages and telling the world how the situation has been unfolding as a bit dangerous. It's not a fun or adventurous sport right now in Israel. And also, in the meanwhile, we have seen some of the airlines stopping their flights to Israel in Tel Aviv. Do you think the situation will continue because you are also taking all the measures for the air safety? So, in that light, will the aviation sector in Israel be disturbed for the days to come?
We do everything in our power to ensure the possibility to fly into Israel. I guess some of the airlines take extra measures especially today, until things will get clear, and postpone some of the flights. But I'm sure in the next 24 hours, flights will come back to Israel, and people can come back or fly out from here.
Okay. Thank you, Maya, for talking to us. Anything that I know is a very scary situation, what we have been seeing on social media, especially you have been in Israel, you are right now there, and you are not very far from where the most of the attacks are happening. So, if you would like to say anything on the current unfolding situation that is pretty much there.
I want to tell my friends in India. I know they are all praying and supporting us today, but I want them to know that the people in the villages near the border are heroes. They are fighting for their life. They are not giving up. And I think if you look back at 26 November in India and know the lesson and the stories that you came up with, so similar situation here. You hear amazing stories about people coming and fighting for their life, for their families. We are very proud of them.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for talking to us. We'll keep getting back to you. And I hope that the situation gets better. In Israel, and people are safe and their life is well secure. Thank you for talking to CNN News 18. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you.